just come across a movie that kind of recalibrates your brain a little bit? Like, something you discover, absorb, and then it becomes like a little part of your movie personality? Well, I had this happen again this week with an 80s slasher I'm now also kicking myself for not having seen before. Scott Spiegel's Intruder from 1989. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a lame-as-ass title right there, Ewan, and yeah, you'd be right, but peel back the curtain just a smidge and feast your peepers on the synopsis and cast list, and I guarantee you'll be dancing around your living room like Crispin Glover in Friday the 13th Part 4. Just pure going for it, you know? He's my best impression of Crispin Glover doing his thing. The microphone came off for a little bit there, but it's okay. We continue. Oh, but please, please do not Google this movie, whatever you do, because the poster spoils everything, as does the trailer. So yeah, go in as blind as you can. This is all I had to go off and make me do the crisp maneuvers at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night. So trust me when I say, the less you know, the better. Also, we're gonna do like a fun voice thing for this synopsis. It's gonna be great, you're gonna love it, right? The overnight stock crew of a local supermarket find themselves being stalked and slashed by a mysterious maniac. Intrigued? Enraptured? Seduced? Maybe not the last bit, but that kind of piques your interest, right? Like, we're off to a great start already. Feels kind of goofy and fun, like a bottle horror in a supermarket. Extreme hell yeah vibes. But things get better when you peep the cast and crew. So it's directed by Scott Spiegel, who co-wrote Evil Dead 2, and who you may recognize as this guy from Spider-Man 2. Amazing, great start. It stars Liz Kern, Renee Estevez, Dan Hicks, and best of all, Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and Ted Raimi, the latter of whom plays a guy called Produce Joe, which may just be the best credit in horror movie history. If you have a better one, let me know down in the comments, because I genuinely love this stuff. All around, the film was serving some impeccable aura, and when I looked at the Letterboxd reviews, I was given even more encouragement, as mutuals had rated it pretty highly. Josh Brown even gave it a 3-star review, which by my own logic is like a Ewan 4, so I was pretty buzzed. And yeah, the movie is just wonderful, it's amazing. Why the hell has this not been in my life for as long as it has been? I'm not gonna go into spoilers here, just because Intruder very much feels like a hidden gem more people need to watch. But I will go into the how and why it's so good, and why I think you should consider it for your next watch this Spooktober. So let's get into it. So first things first, Intruder comes out at a really interesting time in the overall rise and fall and rise again of the slasher subgenre. Coming right at the tail end of the 80s, where we'd really gotten into the excess and glut of Halloween and Friday the 13th ripoffs, and also bad Halloween and bad Friday the 13th sequels, which means that it kind of had a lot stacked against it in terms of performing to the point of it getting, wide mainstream acclaim and recognition. Least of all from mainstream movie critics who, at the time again, were really, flying the flag for just horror hating, big horror hating vibes. This was also probably made even worse by the fact that the cover for the movie, literally spoils who the villain is. Why would you do that? It's so bad. But anyway, I digress. For those of you who are familiar with the Evil Dead franchise, and you really should be if you're watching this, you'll kind of already know the tone that this is kind of shooting for. It's basically like the Evil Dead, but for the slasher genre rather than anything mystical. We've got some delicious, delicious gore effects from Greg Nicotero here. And yeah, Intruder overall, it is a slasher, but I guess you'd probably more likely call it a splatter movie, given the amount of gore in here, and oh my god, the effects are incredible. Basically, every single appliance you can imagine causing someone harm in a supermarket gets its moment to shine here, and when these appliances do get their moment to shine, well, the blood is red and shiny and goopy, And oh my god, there are some really wince-inducing moments here, but done in that kind of Evil Dead-ish, slapstick, humorous way. And like Evil Dead, you really do kind of sometimes get this guerrilla filmmaking vibe from it. It had a pretty decent budget, but more so in the sense that it's very clearly a bunch of really passionate bunch of friends who have come together to make something inherently quite ludicrous, but also occasionally affecting at times. And that obviously comes from the fact that we have both Raimi brothers here. It's just great getting to see Sam in particular in front of the camera. Obviously, Ted Raimi has been in a lot of stuff over the years, ranging from, you know, the likes of The Evil Dead all the way to like the Philip Noyce Jack Ryan movie starring Harrison Ford, and obviously, you know, Twin Peaks and all sorts of different stuff. But Sam is a little bit less prolific as an actor, so getting to see him here doing fun horror-y things but being on the other side of the camera, that's really fun. If you're a fan of Evil Dead or Spider-Man or Darkman or whatever other man thing that Sam Raimi has directed over the years, you're gonna have a blast seeing him strut his stuff and having a fun time here. Ted does have the better character name though, like Produce Joe. It just tickles my brain in a way that I really enjoy. It's just fun to say out loud. Produce Joe. It's a great time. I suppose I should also give this a little bit more of a detailed synopsis than the one-sentence one I gave earlier. Again, don't worry, no spoilers. Basically what we have here is we have a bunch of like late teens, early 20-something kind of, you know, supermarket employees working after hours when people start to go missing and things start to get goopy. Now the interesting thing is that our lead, played by Liz Kearns, her abusive ex-boyfriend shows up on the scene just as these happenings start to occur. So suspicion is immediately placed on this guy, but there are all sorts of other curveballs that the plot throws at you to keep you guessing about who it could be behind all the carnage and mayhem, and it just really, really works. Like with Evil Dead, this is also a movie that's teeming with love for the genre. With it being in the slasher mold, we get some cool little visual flourishes that immediately invoke the likes of Psycho, Halloween, and Friday the 13th. But again, it's its own flavor. It's very much a case of like taking those almost kind of appliance-based slashers and splatter movies we got in the 70s and 80s, but doing it in a much more fun, satirical way. It kind of reminds me a lot about, not Wes Craven's Scream, it's not a very good comparison, but in terms of sheer raw bananas energy, this thing kind of operates at the same tempo as The People Under the Stairs. It's just constantly gonzo, constantly going, but deeply irreverent. And obviously, again, The Evil Dead being a very similar kind of tonal touchstone. And on the subject of how the movie looks, I know I've mentioned there that there are lots of these great little smart visual flourishes that recollect classic horror movies and classic slasher movies in particular, but the movie is doing more than just paying homage to its cinematic forebears. It looks really, really good. Spiegel pulls off some amazing sequences here, whether it's a great chase sequence involving someone hopping over different tills to get at their victim, and there's also just some really great, clever, funny, witty editing. Lots of really fun kind of like snap cuts where we have, you know, someone in mortal peril involving some kind of appliance, and then we'll cut to someone else who's using a machine or cutting up something and, you know, getting that kind of like visual hook in. And it's also really deceptive in that way because you think that the first two times it does this, it's like, okay, we're gonna avoid showing the really meaty parts of these kills. But no, the further we go into the film, the gorier and messier it gets, and there are some sequences in here that are really, oh my god. Just make sure you're not eating when you watch, but if you're like me, you'll be watching them and going, hell yeah, oh my god, this is amazing, because it's that kind of, you know, irreverent approach to the subject matter that keeps things from going a little bit too heavy. Although you will feel sad when certain characters bite the dust just by, you know, how much fun they are to hang around with. It is just technically resplendent all around. There is this one shot that I've been thinking about for the past few days now, where someone has been killed and their blood spills out onto a knocked over light bulb, and it makes this gorgeous, goopy, red light aura glow around the room. it's just really clever. The movie doesn't rush through these moments either. It lets certain deaths linger. You really kind of get to bask in the cruel irony of it all. And again, the humor is there. It's an ever-present. But it does get brutal at times. And I like that, Spiegel is able to balance both the humor of the subject matter and then also like the genuine peril and kind of grotesqueness of it all. It's just a really unique wavelength to operate at, and it pulls it off with a plot. Frustratingly though, the best thing potentially about the movie is something I can't even talk about because it is the main villain, who is a surprise reveal. But trust me when I say that when this person shows up and you get to go into the full mask off territory of that performance, oh my god, they're having so much fun. So many great quotable lines here that, again, I can't spoil because you'll want to hear them for the first time yourself when you watch the movie. I know this is probably very frustrating to watch if you have seen the movie and you're just like, just say it, Ewan, but I think this is something you need to experience yourself if you haven't, and I'm just gonna butcher the quotation anyway, but yeah, the main villain performance here is so good. It's mysterious before you get the big reveal, but when that big reveal comes, it's just a great old time. There are some janky aspects to the film, but they're really kind of just negligible, and if they're not, they just add to its charm. There's some funky choreography involving fight scenes at the very beginning, but apart from that, it is just a fantastic time overall, and this is genuinely one of my favorite slashers now. I'm not over-exaggerating. You could say that maybe I've not swam into the big deep end of the pool in this subgenre, at least for the 80s. But for this, I just thought it was wonderful. It just hit every single note that I wanted it to. And like I said at the beginning on this video, there's a reason why Intruder is so slept on. Partly it's because it released during the, I guess you could call them dark ages of the slasher genre at the tail end of the 80s. It did perform better on home video, but I also think having the main killer be revealed in the poster and the trailer probably didn't help things either, although it is a very cool poster. The other thing here, though, is that the title, Intruder, is just really vague and nebulous and also just kind of generic. Like, it's genuinely really lucky that as I was streaming through Jeff Bezos' streaming slot mines, I came across it and clicked on it because I was hooked in by just seeing a sliver of the actual, synopsis and also the cast list. But Intruder on its own just doesn't sound fairly buzzworthy or notable. Like, there are better titles out there we could have used, maybe, like Cut Price, Everyone Must Go. I know Chopping Mall was already taken. Can't have After Hours because that's a Scorsese movie. But, something that's a little bit more punny and goes into like, the supermarket-y nature of it all. I think that would be good. Let me know your alternate titles for this down in the comments. What would you call Intruder? I need to know because my mind's going blank. Cut Price seems fun, and the tagline would be, Everyone Must Go. But I don't know. Let me know. I need to know. I need to know. Ooh, I've got another. What about Reduced to Fear? It's like Reduced to Clear when you have reductions. That's the worst one I've come up with yet. You will all have better suggestions for me, I'm absolutely sure. Don't let me down, please. And yeah, that just about sums up all of my thoughts on Intruder. I know this is a little bit of a off-the-cuff kind of rambly video, but I really did just want to get into the studio today and just go bleh about a horror movie I really enjoyed, which I kind of think is the best way to talk about the stuff you enjoy. Let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed it, and also make sure that you go watch Intruder if you haven't already, and also rewatch it if you have, because it's a great time. 'Tis the season and all that. I also wanted to say as well, I've only just found out that Scott Spiegel actually passed away last month, which is so sad. What an amazing talent, what a great collaborator with Sam Raimi on The Evil Dead, co-writing Evil Dead 2, which is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, and also leaving Intruder for us all as well. That's an amazing legacy. So yeah, thoughts and feelings and everything going out to Scott Spiegel's friends and family, because it is so recent. But yeah, I just want to say that I love this movie. It was so good. So yeah, that about covers everything. Again, I hope you really enjoyed watching this. I've been Ewan. This is What Culture Horror, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. Bye.